Hello and what is up guys, Rye here and welcome back to some more automation and BeamNG.Drive. Today we are going to be building our very own race car. This is not going to be any old race car, it's going to be similar in design and style to a 1995 F1 race car. Not exactly the same, but it's going to be our own twist on it. At least design-wise. So what we're doing is using this 1970 wedge mod body in automation. We're going to make this thing look and drive like an F1 style car, and then we're going to take it into BeamNG.Drive, but more about that later. So we are using this wedge body as well as another new F1 inspired mod for automation to design this car and make it look like an F1 car. We're using the newest update, which allows you to place parts in a 3D space, which is why this car is going to look so darn cool at least, and we're going to drive it in BeamNG. The goal for this build is to make the car look something sort of like this, that someone built, or like that, or like that. I have done a test build, and our car ended up looking like that with just a little bit of work. Hopefully we'll do something a bit better today for that. So we're using the 1995 year. We have to design the vehicle, but we are following a unique set of rules today. Now you guys might be wondering, right, you don't usually follow really any rules, you sort of just build something to a realistic spec, realistic-ish spec. Well, we got some rules today, and I'll tell you why. So me and Consider are going to be building each our own-ish F1 style car in our own way, that we're going to be driving it in BeamNG in another video, and that's going to be coming later this week or early next week. So stay tuned for that. There's also a lot of really interesting stuff coming up with the new update of automation in the next few days, guys. So stay tuned every day pretty much for a new video, I guess. So the rules are going to be as follows, because we got to do some rules obviously for this little competition. 1995 year for the car, no turbos allowed, any engine goes. You can do an inline 3, you can do a V16, whatever works I guess. 3 liters though is the maximum displacement allowed. You can get as much power as you want within those 3 liters, but no more than 3 liters. Exactly. 2-wheel drive only, so no 4-wheel drive, no all-wheel drive. Everyone's going to have sort of an F1 style of a vehicle, at least modern F1 car. And we're going to use advanced 1990s safety to add a little bit of weight to these cars because they'll be very heavy, as well as F1 cars need to be pretty safe, at least for the driver. So, we're building this car right now. We're using steel panel for now. Let's change that just to carbon fiber, probably, I'm guessing. It might not be the most realistic. We have infinite budget, I guess. We can just yank them up to 15 if we want, and we will. Monocoque carbon fiber for now. The goal of this car is to be semi-competitive against whatever Consider builds, because he's using the same rules that I am. So let's hop in. Rear engine, longitudinal mounted, push rod. Wait, do we want push rod, or push rod double wishbone? Or a mid-mounted? I kind of want a rear. We'll try rear. I might switch to mid for now. Let's hop into the engine builder. I've done a few tests. This vehicle is going to be modded a bit in BeamNG after to make the chassis not show up, as well as rev higher, because obviously it's got to rev higher and sound great. It's an F1 car. I'll put the exhaust clip actually later on the video. We're going to go for a V10 engine, because race car sounds. Dual overhead cam, 5 valve per cylinder, because that's the best way to go about it pretty much. Lower the stroke down to the smallest, and let's get the bore up, because we got some, actually it's too big already. Yeah, rear engine's not going to fit, so mid-engine will fit in this body. Let's do a mid-engine. Let's keep this thing rev high by default and 1 rev. It'll be a lot easier when I modify this car in BeamNG. Let's just give it a little more. Nope, it's at maximum already. It'll be up just under 3 liters. Sounds fine to me. We'll tinker with this later. It's fine for now. We'll tinker with it later. We're gonna go to billet steel, lightweight forged again. Yanked it up to plus 15, and then on to the top end of the engine. VVT all cams, plus 15. Max cam profile probably, and like a 13:1 compression sounds reasonable. No turbo, so we'll skip over that. Multi-point per cylinder race injection. 100 octane fuel. There's not much rules for this, guys. There's very limited rules. It's just for fun. It is not meant to be a realistic dry or spec F1 car, but it's going to be at least similar-ish to an F1 car. At least in design and stuff, and similar to performance-wise. We're going to go pretty high fuel ratio, max ignition timing, 12,000 RPM, plus 15 again. Race tube headers, go for just nothing, just a bit of nothing. It's fine. Honestly, I think the basics are pretty much done already. There's not much more to do. It does make tons of horsepower, which is okay. It makes I think a little bit less than an F1 car. I'll put some stats on the screen of what F1 cars rev to usually, but 497 is reasonably fine, I think. Especially when we can have like just so much downforce in these cars, it'll be absolutely insane. No, oh gosh, I messed up. 497 is what we had, so I might change it later. There we go. A little bit fancy, nothing too special. We are on leather. There we go. I like how that looks better. The engine is pretty much done, at least to start off. If we go ahead and hide The body, we can see nothing's there yet, but we can see we're going to be able to hide this chassis in BeamNG. Another cool thing that they added too, so once we click this, we can go to the paint and fixtures mode. They added the ability to make windows transparent. I know, isn't that amazing? We can make interiors now with a 3D mod. We're going to hop into Drivetrain. It's going to be a 6-speed manual gearbox, which is absolutely insane by itself. You want to get the plus 15. Geared LSD, I think, is the better one. Semi-slick tires. Right now, only 355s in the rear, but we got to go ahead and just yoink that to max size because we can. Oh, gosh. It looks like an alien ship. We'll do like 295s in the rear, I think. A bit smaller. And we're going to space with the front and rear a lot, just because more width is going to give us just a bit more stability in the road. And it's going to look a bit more mean and a bit more presence, which is obviously more important. Magnesium plus 15 wheels. Vented. We'll do like 3 pistons probably. Just to start off. What size wheels? They're 14s. I think F1 cars are like 13 inches. We can go 14s. It's not perfectly realistic, but we'll do that. Fully clad under tray. Plus 15 quality. Just a 1 seat with good interior, or highest quality, but the lowest entertainment. Yeah. No power steering needed. Do we really need power steering? I think not. We don't really need it. We'll keep ABS on, because we're probably going to need that, I want to say. And the best safety possible, we'll go progressive, semi-active. We'll just race tune it for now, and plus 15. So right off the bat here, 27 MPG, which actually is really important for an F1 car. You gotta have good MPG. I mean, it doesn't actually matter, but why not? Yeah, I like it anyways. So you might be wondering, Ryan, how the heck are you gonna make this car look like an F1 car? Well, I'll give you a quick rundown on how the 3D mods, or the 3D placement of mods work, or fixtures work. For example, we will go to Windows. And we will grab, I think this is a pedal pieces. We have a steering wheel, steering column. We'll grab this little gauge cluster. We have this right here. It's placed right here, sort of in the car like normal. If we have the windows covered up, it's just sort of as normal. We can go ahead and click this button, change it to 3D mode. We'll make the window transparent. We can actually place things and scale things. We can see we can grab this. We can grab that. And then we can go back to move. And look at that, we got some sort of center gauges right there. Easy as that. It's not perfect, but that's sort of what we have. I don't think we'll be doing an interior really for the F1 car. I mean, sort of, it's good to have something, but it's not going to have a center console like a normal car has, because it's kind of a race car. So what we're going to do now, that was a quick sort of walkthrough on 3D placement of things. You can place anything anywhere basically. So this bumper, we'll change it to 3D. And we can place it now on a 3D space. We can place the bumper over here now. It's floating in the air. We can place it there if we wanted to, but we're not gonna. Wow, that engine looks really sick in the back though, but we're gonna make it all go away. We're going to design this car now in a quick time lapse. It won't be that quick actually, because there's a lot going on with this one. We got to cover the whole thing up and design it. So it might be a bit of a longer time lapse. I'll commentate the whole thing on what's happening. Sit back, relax, guys, and of course, I hope you all enjoy. And we're starting the build for our F1 style race car. First things first, you can see we are actually using reverse dog tape to make the whole car invisible, so that way it's invisible in BeamNG.Drive. And then we start off adding the front sort of nose, and then we have the back of the cockpit added to the F1 car, sort of just laying on what we're doing, adding a wing to the front, adding a few things here or there, like a roof scoop and playing with the sides just a bit to add some shape to them. It's a pretty complex car, but we use a bunch of simple shapes to make it as complex as we can in a pretty short amount of time. This build took me about a couple hours of just sort of tinkering around, including placing decals and stuff. So adding some more things, we have some pretty much scoops or vents on the front sides of the vehicle, channeling air, I guess, to the back end. Adding some things to the front or to the cockpit area, pretty much making our own I guess, surround of the cockpit. I know there's this actual fixture for this. I knew this after. I didn't know this while I was doing the actual time lapse. But I do add some pieces here and there to make my own sort of cockpit surround. I guess it's part of the cockpit. Changing the intakes on the side a bit more. Adding a few details here or there, like a cone to the back. And adding some things, making it into a scoop to suck some air through the back of the driver as well. Adding one big single exhaust outlet and just sort of tinkering with a wing and other things like that, and playing with the suspension briefly. Adding two wings on the front and the rear to make it a bit more usable. Adding a seat and a floor to our vehicle with a steering wheel, pretty simple. And then adding a underfloor to the, I guess the nose cone needs the bottom piece as well. Adding a big old rear diffuser, and then adding some just some sort of cladding in the back just to make it all look a little bit nicer. It's not realistic, but it looks nice. I added a simple little character with a head and a helmet right there, part of all of the same mod pack. Changing some sort of F1-ish wheels, we went with a red and gold pattern, similar to a Ferrari car of the time. Then starting on a few fixtures on the back just to make the back end look complete here and there. Adding a brake light, reverse light, or fog light, or whatever it's called. And then we start on the decals. This is the final bit of the car, adding a few decals here and there to make the car look a bit more fleshed out, a bit more lively. We have some Bremsy, pretty much Brembo brakes. We got Pirelli, which is, you know, pretty much Pirelli. ProStation, which is PlayStation. And on and on and on. We got Jackrabbit, we got some stopwatch brand, we got, I think it's some Mama brand. I can't read it, it's going that fast. We're adding a lot of decals and having a lot of fun adding these decals here and there. We added a ton of decals. It is actually very, very tedious placing them because you're placing a very flat shape in a 3D option, in a 3D space. Adding a few more here and there on the character's helmet. And finished in front of us is the 1995 Maven Performance 10-3 race car. Finally in front of us is the Maven Performance 10-3. Now, we're going to talk about the name real quick. So Maven Performance is a performance variant, performance team, a performance company based on the Maven Motor Company. I've made a bunch of Maven cars like this, and this before in the past, not for a long time, but we're making a race car that's a 1995 race car at this point. There's no lore to it, it just sort of happened, and Maven wanted to do it because why not? So the car weighs 1,870 or so pounds now. 300 km/h top speed-ish. It's a bit less than a real F1 car, and it's about the same 0 to 60. It's going to be different in BeamNG. This is just the automation times. I'm going to change a bunch of stuff when we go into BeamNG, like make this thing rev to 19,500 or so RPM, which is going to be very insane. There's a lot of decals all over here. They were a lot to place, but it's pretty similar to a typical F1 style of a car. Of course, it's different and it's unique in its own way, and it's probably not legal at all in F1, but it looks pretty cool. So other things I did, I changed the suspension from pushrod to double wishbone to increase the ride height just a little bit because it was too low in BeamNG and it was scraping. We moved the front wing up a bit higher because, again, that was scraping as well. I know it's not perfect, but it is what it is. We also made this big air intake above the head of the driver, a bit taller or a bit higher up because it was scraping on the ground. Through the car. We also moved other things such as the rear diffuser, the seat up a bit more, etc, etc. So we did a few things to make sure it functions in BeamNG properly. It's going to rev to 19,500 RPM, make peak power for quite a long time, and just be overall absolutely insane to drive. It's very quick, we'll see in a second, guys. So we did a bit of engine tweaking as well. In automation, it makes 492 horsepower. We'll do a bit of that tweaking in Beam to make sure it makes that for a lot longer RPM, like I said. And we made it so the chassis, because right now it looks like this in BeamNG, but we have to make it so it looks like this. And it's very easy, apparently. So we'll do that, of course, and we'll make it look like this in BeamNG. It's going to be pretty awesome. I'll put a link to download the car in the description, but now let's hop into BeamNG for a quick second. Not do any races, just hop into BeamNG and see what this thing weighs, and just see sort of how it drives real quick. And finally, we're in BeamNG.Drive with our pretty much purebred race car Formula 1 car. I don't know what to call it at this point, but it looks super good in BeamNG. The front wing is a little bit glitchy. I'm not too sure what's up with that, but that's okay. One of the wings fell off, actually, and I'm not too sure why. But we'll fix that, I guess, at some point. The car is done in BeamNG. The engine does sound a bit different. It revs a lot higher. Lots of pops and bangs. A ton of power. We actually got to reset this. You can see the power graph on the top left. So it makes pretty much peak power all the time. Pretty much all the time. If we just launch it in first. I mean, it shifts a bit faster. It's a manual, but it shifts a bit faster. Just a bit. Just a lot faster. Top speed. Not the best. We'll brake here. Oh, It's so great to drive. It's got a lot of downforce. It is very great to drive. I've just got to fix it so that one wing is actually fixed because we need that for front downforce. But other than that, the car is done. So we're gonna hop into a weigh scale real quick and let's just see sort of what this thing weighs, because that might be somewhat important when Consider makes his vehicle. We will hop into this and back up. That sound. Oh, that sounds great. A little bit closer. Come on. Back up just a little bit. We went too far there. Okay, we're good. Now let's put it in neutral. And it weighs about 1,990 pounds, so it is definitely heavier than an F1 car. That's okay, though. But it does do just as much burnouts and have just as much fun than an actual F1 car. No traction control, just ABS, because what else do you really need? The engine's overheating. That's another thing to fix, I guess, but we'll do that in the actual race episode. What's going to happen now is Consider's going to do a build some point this week, hopefully, with his car, and then maybe next week or later this week or something like that, we will do a BeamNG MP race. We're going to do a ton of laps in this thing and just see, may the best racer win. So Consider, if you're watching this, you better step up your game, son. If you guys like the video, leave a like down below. Join the Discord, linked in the description. I'm trying to hit 10k subs, so if you guys have watched this far and haven't subscribed, what are you doing? Just subscribe, come on. And let me know in the comments down below. I am building another vehicle coming up soon. There's actually a bunch of new videos coming up soon, so stay tuned for tomorrow, the day after, the day after, the day after, the day after. There's a lot of new stuff coming. So thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you next time.